Hey, good afternoon. This is Daniel, and I want to talk to you about something very quickly. I want to show you something in regards to the voice of God in our life. And in order to do that, I want to play something for you to just kind of check it out from it. This is one of my favorite songs called Moonlight Kiss by Bap Kennedy. But you need to pay attention. This is, just hang with me. Now check this out. Watch this. Ready? Did you catch it? No? Alright, I'll do it again. Ready? Did you catch it? No? Okay. Here's what happened. When I turned the music up, the music could be heard. And when I turned the music down, you couldn't hear it anymore. That's mind-blowing stuff, isn't it? Actually, no, it's not. It's common sense. The fact is, the music was streaming over my phone whether I listened to it or not. It was always there. It didn't just start. Bap Kennedy just didn't start singing Moonlight Kiss whenever I turned it up. And he didn't stop it when I turned it down. He kept broadcasting whether I was listening or not. When it comes time to the voice of God in our life, I think it's important to understand that God's voice doesn't just start when we tune in and doesn't just stop when we tune out. God's voice throughout your day and my day is broadcasting whether or not you choose to listen to it or not. Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6 is one of my favorite passages, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all of thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." All of thy ways, it just means this: everything you do, everywhere you go, and everyone you meet. Everything you do, everywhere you go, and everyone you meet, those equal all my ways, right? So in all thy ways, acknowledge him. The word acknowledge doesn't mean to just kind of barely notice it like a stop sign. It means to search for or discover, like Indiana Jones, It's like in everything you do, in everywhere you go, and everyone you meet, search for to discover God. And the result of that searching is that he will direct your path. That's awesome to me, because the Bible says you have not because you ask not. And if you ask, seek, and knock, he says you ask and I'll answer. You open the door, or knock and I'll open the door. But what was it saying? It's like, man, all you have to do, it's really that simple to identify God's voice in your life, is to look for God in everything you do, everywhere you go, and everyone you meet. Our problem is that we look at the voice of God like it should sound a certain way, and we should only hear it in certain places. Like the Bible, if it's not in those 66 books, the Bible, then it's not of God. Or if I didn't hear it on Sunday in my church, it's not of God. Well, let me just say, with all respect to church and the 66 books of the Bible, that God's voice is so much bigger than what we can contain with our minds and our hearts. God's voice is bigger than Sunday. It's bigger than the Bible that you hold in your hand. It's bigger than that 66 books. God's voice is everywhere. I think in the Bible, all the different times, and Apostle Paul and all the different people in the Bible that interacted with someone that came as a direct result of God saying, speak to this person. If they had said, no, that's not from God, that only has to be found on this day of the week or in this particular book, then I'll admit that that's not of God. They would discredit and miss out on the voice of God in their life. There's a lot of times in my life that I did that I missed out on hearing God direct me on the path that he has laid out for me, because I chose to ignore it, because it didn't come across the way I thought, well, surely this person doesn't even know God, so God wouldn't choose to speak through them. Now look at Balaam, an Old Testament prophet whose donkey, God spoke to the man through a donkey that he rode. And if God can speak to someone through a donkey, I believe he's big enough to speak to me even through somebody that may not even acknowledge God. God is big enough to use that person to speak a word into my life or speak something about my day and give me an insight that I'm supposed to receive if I'm listening. See, our problem is we just don't listen. Our problem is we tune it out, and we go on one particular day of the week and we tune it back in for a few minutes and try to catch something, and we miss out on the fact that every day, every second of every day, his voice is broadcasting. And once you learn to tune God's voice in your life, you realize that you never want to go another day without hearing it again. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Hope this challenges and encourages you to ask some questions. Ask yourself an inventory of questions tonight before you go to bed. Ask yourself, of all the people I talked to today, who did I talk to and why them? of all the things that I heard today with my ears. What it was that I heard, what words stood out to me, what phrases stood out to me, what was it that just caught my attention, of all the things I could have read today. What did I read? Of all the things that I could have watched today, what did I watch? What songs did I hear? What stood out to me? What caught my attention? And if you train yourself to pay attention, you tap into this bigger world out there. You tap into a bigger world, and it's the world of God's voice speaking to your heart through everything you do, everywhere you go, and everyone you meet. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day today.